Take it away, Mark.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Nightmares Podcast. I am Mark, of course, and you know B-Man, Z-Man, and David.
Vampire Hunter.
David, the Vampire Hunter that plays loud techno music while he goes down the street.
Best way.
So we're so glad to be to have you back, and I know B-Man has a few announcements. He always just uses me as a large voice to introduce everybody. I know we were at a con this weekend. Oh, we're at a con this weekend, and then also we have a couple of exclusive clips that are going to be sent over to Facebook very, very soon. For some of our interviews, we have David working on that right now.
Yeah.
We're going to pick our favorite bits from several of the interviews that we've already done. We're going to post them up to Facebook. When you do see them, we'll announce it on Facebook, but we appreciate if you would tag and share it with as many people as you can. We want to drive some traffic to our page, and then also obviously to YouTube, because we've got a lot of amazing things going on. B-Man, I know we got a couple really great interviews set up. Isn't that correct?
Yep. So we're finally getting around to our interviews from everybody that we met at the New Jersey HorrorCon and Film Festival. Today's actually the first in that series of East Coast horror talent. We also just got back from Days of the Dead. Very fun 3 days. Went to a few filmmaking panels, a couple of which were moderated by Tony Walsh, whose interview with him just went up last week, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. However much time has passed in between us recording this one.
I got a Star Wars ring there. That's pretty great.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff there. Some autographs. I got my copies of American Mary and Dead Hooker in a Truck, signed by the Saska sisters.
As Zach and Brandon got to hang out with the sisters in a different way this time around.
We got a blood photograph.
Lucky.
That was fun.
It's on Instagram. Check it out.
I also got copies of Sinister and In a Valley of Violence, signed by the actor who played Deputy So-and-so from Sinister. That was pretty cool. David and his wife got some artwork.
Yeah, we got some paintings, which are awesome.
And these two guys had to keep me from wandering off onto the Alice Cooper pinball machine numerous times as well.
Actually, you know what? That was more on him, because I was right there next to you playing. Because
The Rob Zombie one?
The Rob Zombie. Oh, absolutely, on the Rob Zombie one.
I was the one who had to keep them on track and actually, do the purpose we meant to do at the convention, was interact with the independent filmmakers, which we did interact with.
We were there to have fun, and we had fun.
We did have fun. And
we had fun, but still, interact, network, and all that. We have met a lot of great people. We're going to be interacting and coercing with a lot of great filmmakers that are local to the Chicago area and even Wisconsin area. So there's plenty of stuff to look forward to. And Ohio.
And Ohio. We also got to meet, you know what, and the biggest part I'm proud of is it wasn't just the amount of people, it was the quality of people, of course, and then also the variety of people. We have a lot of really cool businesses, artists, hopefully some haunted houses that are going to be participating in these interviews. So we have a large variety of people of the Midwest and even outside of the Midwest horror, contributing to the community, which is obviously what we're all about here. So we're really excited. I'm really excited, and I know the rest of the guys are, about all the interviews that we got coming up. So.
And speaking of quality people, let's introduce today's guest, director of the award-winning film Lillith, Lee Esposito. Lee, thank you for being on our podcast today.
Thank you, Lee. Howdy. So I am so sorry that I couldn't join you while I was, I was in Dallas training for a job.
Did that job entail anything with Vince McMahon?
No, it did not entail anything with this man. I'm tired of that dude stealing my identity. It's bothering me.
Zach, send me the link to that video so people can finally know.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. I'm resting this right now. There is a wrestler right now currently working that looks incredibly a lot like me, except much better built. And I've known about this dude for years, and I've been told by many people that if they ever made a movie about him, I would need to act as him, because I do look a lot like him. And then while I was in Dallas, several of the internal friend group saw this video and started posting it. to all of our social media saying, "Oh my God, this is what Mark's really doing in Dallas," but I wasn't, because that actually would have been fucking exciting versus what I was actually doing, which was studying for a job that I'm doing now. So I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not starting.
You're like Bruce Wayne saying he's not Batman. Nobody's seen Bruce Wayne and Batman in the same place, Mark, and nobody's seen you and this wrestler in the same place.
Well, you're not incorrect. You're not incorrect. So yeah. So we'll put that video in the we'll put that link in the video below or something like that. I'm dyslexic. Whatever.
I'm making a note of it.
Yeah, I know. And also too, we can also have Brandon put in video links to the links below. So he's the link guy. So anyway, so we'll get this cracking. Obviously, thank you so much for having us on. I think Brandon has a whole list of fucking questions right here. It's crazy. And I'm gonna ask one to get you kicked off, and then I'll let Brandon take it away from there. So I always am curious to ask, where all this started. So for you, going back to when you were a kid, how did you know that you wanted to make film or be involved in film? Was it a film that inspired you? Do you have people in your family? How did this crazy journey start for you?
It started when I was like pretty young. I want to say like 4th, 5th grade. My dad went to film school, and so I kind of learned a lot about it through him and through watching just a ton of movies growing up. And eventually, around that time, I started picking up my camera, filming stupid little things with my friends. Filmed like a really, really dumb horror movie, which you can find on YouTube. I will not disclose the name of, but you can find. Yeah, that was back in like when I was maybe 10 years old, 11 years old, and it just kind of became like something I did for fun at first, and then I took TV and film classes like for all 4 years of my high school. Took them through college. And it was just something I really enjoyed doing. It's something really exciting about being able to craft like your own vision and put it, on film.
Very nice, very nice. So when did you start becoming a fan of the horror genre? Because I love talking about that. I love hearing it from the rest of these guys, but I want to hear it from you too.
Surprisingly, really late in life. I was terrified of horror movies growing up, like would not watch them, would not go near them, was freaked out by covers, was like just would not touch them. And then when I was probably 15 or 16, I finally got around to watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and just kind of was like, oh, this is awesome, and then watched everything under the sun since then, and it just became like a genre that I really, really love. I mean, I have a very overactive imagination, so that was why I didn't watch them growing up, but then like that, it's just become something that it's like I gravitate to now. It's so easy to write, it's so easy for me to write like horrifying situations and scenarios, and just like it's fun.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah,
that's very interesting. But I started at an early age. I was like 3 or 2 years old when I started my horror binge.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mom, for that one.
Yeah, my mom too, surprising. She took me to see Hellraiser when I was young, which is not something you take a kid to go see, but
that's a very interesting one.
It was very...
Look, I beg to
How has
differ.
that affected you in adult life?
Mommy, what's BDSM?
I don't know. I mean, I watched Strangeland with Dee Snider, and I enjoyed that too.
A little off topic. When we were at Dark History the other month, Bob Elmore, who played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I was talking to him, and in the middle of our conversation, this woman just comes up to him, points, and says, "You're the reason why I'm into leather aprons and boots in the bedroom."
Nice.
And just walks away. When I told Mark that story, all he could say is, "I can only imagine what the cast of Hellraiser gets to hear."
Doug Bradley.
Oh, hold on, man. Come on. How many times with James and everything else with the fucking human centipede stories?
Yeah.
And all that.
At least once.
At least one. Well, yeah, him too. All right. So we have another one of our interviewees. His name is James. He runs a non-for-profit movie restoration company.
The HSPPA.
Thank you. He actually restaurates and
Restores.
restores, conservates, movie props, movie costumes. Those are all 3 different things. Restaurates those things, and he has an actual fuck you, Zach.
You can't talk.
He actually has a human centipede hookup from I think it was
Part 3.
Part 3. And he's like, you wouldn't believe how many people. Like I've had a mother, grandmother, and daughter actually run to this and set it up. I've had bachelorette parties. I've had families. And then Brandon participated. There's pictures.
He ran to it. Me and Dave, we didn't have to argue. It's just like, I want to do it. Okay.
Yeah. And he said the funniest thing is everyone runs to the back. Always. They always run to the back. I don't know why.
Because that's where the mask is. So
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's still the place you want to run to.
Yeah,
Damn.
that's a good point. So back to how we all got into horror movies. I actually I was the same as you actually. I saw a lot of the film covers at an early age and had nightmares because I had an overactive imagination. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I moderately was into horror throughout time, throughout the course of my life. But I met these guys, all pretty much around the same time, about 4 years ago. And I actually auditioned for Zach and his senior film, and then we became friends. And they all really, really got me into horror, so I became a fan through them. Which is always nice. It's horror bringing friends together.
Oh yeah.
But
I think that's my first question. So you're part of Ritterhouse Productions, which produced Lillith.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a little bit about it on your website, and there are 3 of you according to the website. Yes. And it said you guys met about a little over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that you finally formed Ritterhouse specifically for Lillith. Can you go into about like what made that decision take place? What made you guys get together? Why did you decide that these were the 2 people you wanted to collaborate, and what eventually led to Lillith?
Sure, yeah. So Chris and Vin and myself are all part of the similar like-minded YouTube community of these sort of ongoing found footage-esque horror series that all have similar concepts, but they're all, doing their own things, and they occasionally will cross over. We all became friends through that. It's a very niche community. And we all share a love of filmmaking. We all really kind of just get along really well. And I wrote Lillith in about end of 2015, I want to say. And I just kind of showed it to them, and then we were like, we kind of just, they got on board, and we started just speeding along to actually getting it made. And then throughout the process of actually, being in production, we realized, we work really well together. We could do this as a job, as a full-time thing. And so we got all the papers together and formed an LLC, and we made our little production house as a result.
Nice. So you wrote the feature Lillith first, it sounds like. You also made a proof of concept, which I saw that listed on IMDb.
Yes.
You want to talk about how that came to be?
Yeah, so I mean, it's since been taken down for the sake of not spoiling the actual film, but so I wrote the full feature back in 2015, and then we were trying to figure out how to get it made, so we shortened the full movie down to about 7 pages just to get the idea across, and we filmed a little short version of it in mid 2016. Got it made. It was really cheap, and kind of did that to try and spark interest in the project, and people liked it and were kind enough to believe in it and throw money at us, so it was pretty rad.
So did you go a crowdfunding route or investors? Or...
No, it was pure investors. We got really lucky in that a lot of family and family friends and extended family all just kind of pooled their money together and got us a budget, which was really, really cool, and not something that happens very often, and I'm exceptionally lucky to have the access to that. But yeah, that was just pure luck, and I'm eternally grateful for it, because it's an opportunity I don't think I ever would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah. No, it looks like there was a lot of luck in this and that. And we talked about this a little bit when we first started talking on Facebook. The actress who plays Lillith in the feature is the same actress you got in the proof of concept.
Yes.
And, So did you already have her in mind? Did she have to audition?
She did audition, yeah. She auditioned for the proof of concept, and I mean, we got a lot of auditions for Lily in the POC, and like, no one understood the character like at all what I was going for. They were all playing it like, you know, too seductive, too like serious, and then like I got an audition from Savannah, and she just got it, and she was the only one to get it, and there was just this energy to her that I was like, oh, like she understands what I'm going for. And I mean, I cast her there, and then I was just like, when we got greenlit for the actual, you know, feature, I was like, we need to get her back. I'm like, there's nobody else who understands that role. And she was like nice enough to be happy to come back, which was awesome. So
Nice. So it wasn't like she was signed on for the role if the proof of concept got the green lighted, so you actually had to contact her separately.
yeah. I mean, she and I stayed in contact after the proof of concept, and we became friends. But then like after like when like we got the green light, I'm like, hey, like we're doing this. You need to come back. This is important. And she wanted to. She was like, I don't want anybody else to have this role. So I was like, cool, perfect, love that.
It's usually how actors are. Once they own something, they want to own it for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's a role that they're like they gravitated to. I feel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what made you decide to do a succubus story? Because we were actually talking about before we started this interview. Like the only succubus story I could think of was that South Park episode from Scene 3, and in a way, kind of Jennifer's Body, but it's like, I mean, there's a whole bunch of werewolf stories, vampire stories, zombie stories that you can probably find. You can go outside right now and find something that has an idea for a zombie movie.
Yeah.
But you don't see any succubus stories. So what drew you to that?
Weirdly enough, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The whole idea that Pumpkinhead was thought of on this ground that like, you know, there's like, oh, there's a demon for every one of mankind's sins or whatever, and like I was like, that's really cool. No one did anything with that after Pumpkinhead. They just didn't. And I was like, why? And then so I had like all these ideas just kind of spiraling around in my head, and then like I just kind of thought of this. I'm like, oh, you know, like kind of be funny if it's like this like lust demon, and like it was just it started with that, and I started thinking of it in like this really like schlocky Evil Dead sense, and then as I was writing it, it just kind of evolved into something very different and very emotionally resonant to me, and it was just like something I don't know. It was a very strange evolution that it had, but it turned from like something that was not at all meant to be serious into something that I was like, oh, I kind of fell in love with the world.
Was there any kind of research that you did? Because, of course, Lilith is an actual demon's name. There was also a lot of Wiccan inspiration in the story as well. So what kind of research did you have to do for the story and the characters?
I did do a little. I do have a couple friends who are Wiccan. I did kind of consult them on certain elements, but then and then you know I did do some research into the biblical lore, and then but then a lot of it I took liberties because I was like, you know what, I want to be able to meld this freely to what I need it to be, and that's also why I spelled her name with 2 L's and not 1. So I was like, I want to differentiate it a little bit. So I just sort of I cherry picked the things I wanted to include and tossed out the rest.
That reminds me, there was a 1970s movie called Two Lane Blacktop, which is very car oriented. And Robert Downey Sr. was telling a story of how he met the writer one day, and he asked him, how did you find out all this stuff about the cars and everything? And the writer told him, I made it up. I just wanted to tell the story I wanted to tell.
Hey, if it works, it works.
You just gotta tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
Don't let facts get in the way of a good story.
Exactly.
It's
Unless it
I think I
involves
saw that on a bumper sticker once.
unless it involves a hazmat suit.
let's not get into that.
Let's not.
I don't want that story to go public for their protection.
Not yours. Anyway, moving on.
All right. So casting of Lilith herself for the feature, that was pretty easy. You had the actress in the proof of concept, brought her back. You had a really good cast for the rest of the characters too. Like they all felt like friends. So are these all actors that came into audition? Were the actors that you already knew? Like,
No,
what was
I
the casting process for the friends?
I didn't know any of them outside of Savannah and Michael, and that's just because they were in the proof of concept. I mean, I cast them all just through backstage, and they all like I was just a long casting process of going through literally I think 3,000 auditions for like the whole cast.
Yeah.
It was a lot, yeah. But
200 is bad.
Yeah, no
yeah, no,
kidding.
3,000 is worse. So, like, what happened?
3,000, you said?
Yeah, when you combine like the main roles and then all the smaller roles, yeah, it was about 3,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
We
it was a lot.
we hit like 200 for the episode 3 auditions, and that was just huge for us. We're like, holy
because like episode 1 for Living Nightmares, we got what, like 10 submissions, only 4 who actually showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 2 was somewhere around
30.
30, and how many showed up? Like maybe half of that.
Yeah.
And then for episode 3, it was like 150. We had to
It's
book
like-
a whole day at the audition space.
The beauty of backstage is that you're able to do all the auditions just like online, and like I mean it was all just like email submissions and like through the website, but it's a lot. I do love the casting process though. I mean there's something about it that's just kind of fun.
Yeah. Quick question for you. Do you so you take video submissions, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Me personally, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of video submissions. I like seeing the people in person, meeting them, talking with them, making sure they're like a good fit for what I'm looking for and stuff like that. But yeah, that's just me.
I like to do that for callbacks usually. Like for video submissions, like for me, because I'm like I don't like judging a person's performance on like what they can give like in the moment right there, just because like with video submissions they have the opportunity to send you whatever they feel their best is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, if you're sending me what you think is your best and it's not, well, all right, cool, bye.
Yeah. And then I also like to be able to like give notes if I don't like the performance they're giving me, I can just give a quick adjustment, see if they do better, and most of the time they do. So
No,
yeah,
that's definitely
just-
fair. I think the other problem is that I don't have access to a really like an audition space.
fair enough. There's this split. What the heck is it?
It's called the Annoyance Theater. It's in Chicago. We actually got really lucky. They have like a downstairs area with actual like rehearsal rooms and then
nice.
audition rooms.
Just rent it out.
It's like $15 a day.
Oh,
or-
that's
or
nuts.
15 an hour.
15 an hour.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
closest we have to anything like that around here is in New York, which I mean, like it's pretty cheap. It's like $18 an hour, but it's it's in New York, and I'm just like it's a process to just like go, just take the train like hour and a half away. It's you know.
I hear you. You brought up an interesting point, and I wanted you to expand about it. What do you love about the casting process so much?
I really couldn't even tell you. I just like a lot of times I like seeing what people get out of what I'm writing for them, like what people are like, how people are interpreting it, how they're reading it, how they're like, delivering it. It's just really interesting because I've seen like performances where I'm like, I would not have read it that way in a million years. And then I've seen performance where like they do it better than I could have envisioned, or they'll add something that like I'm like, oh, that's really good. I want them to keep that. So
Absolutely.
I can agree 100% with that. Casting process is both awesome, amazing, and sometimes even hilarious.
Oh, and terrifying nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on both sides of the table actually. It's interesting for me to see both sides of the perspective.
Oh, sure.
Being on the producing side and the on that side, then also acting and auditioning as well. And then coming to the very real truth that everyone's nervous and everybody wants everybody to do well.
Yeah. I actually recommend checking out the behind the scenes featurette on the DVD for the Kevin Costner movie Open Range.
Okay.
Because he directed that one, and there's actually a part where he's going through casting or audition videos with the casting director to fill up like small bit roles that only have like a couple lines, and just the hard time he has making decisions because he even talks about, I've been on the other side of this before, so how can I choose?
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. And actually, on that same note, I'll recommend a book. It's called The Secrets of a Casting Agent or Casting Director. It's a great book. It shows both sides of the coin. I've actually recommended it to not only actors, producers, directors. I've recommended it to salespeople too. It's a good book about how about everyone. Nobody really wants to see anybody fail. Like I remember like the first paragraph she was saying, I've been an actress, I've been an actor, and been in auditions and walked into a room and being like, oh my God, I hope they like me. I hope we do well. I hope we do this. But like, she's like, the thing you don't realize is the other side of the table is going, oh my God, I hope we can find somebody great. I hope we can cast this right. What happens if we don't find anybody? It's the same nerves, the same energy, it's the same concerns that are on both sides of the coin. So any of the actors that are watching this, you can take it from everyone here that is participated in casting, that we want you to succeed just as much as you want to succeed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's the casting. What about the other side of the camera? Who did you line up for crew? Did you have to post any ads? Did you already have crew members that in mind? What was the crew process for you?
Crew wise, I mean, my AD likes to joke that we were Chris, who's one of my production partners, likes to joke that we were a few bones short of a skeleton crew. We had a really small crew for this movie. But yeah, a lot of it were like people who were like friends, people we knew, people who were trying to get into the business, except for the only person who was really like outside of the group that like I already knew was our sound guy, who was I went to school with his sister, and she recommended him to me, so I got met up with him, and he gave us what we needed. It was really great.
Which tell him for me that he did a really good job.
For sure.
I've actually sat through a lot of independent projects where you just cannot hear what people are saying, and every bit of dialogue in your movie was crystal clear.
Awesome.
So as a viewer, and especially since this is a 90-minute project and not a 5-minute project,
right.
As an audience member, thank you for getting a really top-notch sound guy for your project.
I appreciate you saying that, because that sound is like, they say it's 51% of a movie, so like, yeah, I'm glad that it was all it all worked for y'all.
Yeah, you can have a terrible movie with great sound, and it'll at least be watchable because you can deal with the sound. If you have a great movie with terrible sound, it's hard.
Yeah,
eyes can adjust, ears can't.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you have a producer on set with you, or
we had a couple? We had two. Our two executive producers. Like I said, they're like their family and family friends. So like they would stop in here and there and like cater a lot. But it was mostly just like kind of me and my AD, my DP running the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
The so tell me about your DP process. I mean, what kind of conversations did you have before you got to set? How's that relationship work out?
Way to steal my thunder, Mark.
Oh, sorry. I know how important it is, especially fucking talking to you.
DP.
Especially fucking talking to you all the time. It wouldn't be actually, you'll notice that about Brandon and I. Usually we're on the same wavelength on things. So if I don't say it, he's thinking it, and if he's thinking it, I'll say it. So
right.
It's usually how that works.
Hey, I mean that's good. That's good communication right there. But yeah, no. So Vince and I mean, like I said, he's my other production partner. We've known each other for a while. He knows his way around most technology. When it came to actual like shots and stuff, he and I had like hung out with for like weeks, months on end, planning out like every single scene like way ahead of time. So I mean, by the time we actually got to set, it was all pretty straightforward. And then it was just like dealing with certain equipment issues that we were having toward the end of production, which like was less fun, but it comes with the territory.
What'd you guys shoot on?
Blackmagic Cinema 2.5K.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what about the locations process?
Yeah, that was the hard part, especially when it comes to like planning shots and stuff, because some locations we didn't have until like a week beforehand. It was a lot of reaching out to places, reaching out to colleges, reaching out to all these different locations, and either having them say no and
Lost you a little bit there.
Like I said, we got like the last of our locations I think a couple days before. Oh, sorry. It was just a lot of like us getting the runaround and a lot of like no's, and I think the last of our locations we didn't get until like 2 days before the actual scene was being shot. Like it was rough. But then like there were some locations that were great, like the place that we used for the hospital, which was a plastic surgery clinic. We called them and they were like, 2 questions: do you have insurance, and is it porn? And I was like, yes and no.
Great job.
Well, I mean,
Valid
I'm sure
questions.
they've gotten a phone call before.
I'm
There's
sure
a
they
story.
have. I mean, I guess
want
they had
to know
to
it.
if that's a question they have to ask.
I mean, there's a fair share of porns in doctors' offices.
I seriously want to know the story behind that one.
Oh, I do too.
That's a
I feel
great
like
question.
it's hilarious. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, those are the only two questions we have. I'm like, okay, well, I can answer both of those at this exact moment. So
You're nicer than me. I want to call him. Like, hold on, let me get back to you.
So they didn't.
No.
Wait, hang on.
Adding to that, what we gotta do is yes, the insurance. I'll get back to you on
the second part exactly.
honestly, at that point, I was so.
Here's the
I
thing,
was
though.
so desperate at that point that I was just like, nope. It was like a week before production started. I was like, yeah, no, it's not a porn. All right, thank you.
But here's the thing. It is a succubus story. Did they
It
know
is.
that much?
Listen, we're not shooting any sex scenes in the hospital. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You know what though?
Fair.
I actually, funny enough, back like almost 10 years ago, I was in an independent film. I was acting in it, and I was a mini locations manager for them. I found a bar in the suburbs out here, and they had signed off, the paperwork to go ahead and shoot there. We had shot all the interiors, shot a scene in a bathroom. It was a raunch comedy. And we filmed the scene outside in the back alley, or like the pseudo back alley, and it was a simulated sex scene. And there was like 30 people, including a bunch of patrons, that had come out and everything else to watch this scene. I found out through the grapevine about you guys have never heard this story.
No.
I found out through the grapevine about 2 months later, I was permanently banned from that bar because apparently they had not known that this particular movie was going to have simulated sex scenes. One of their next door neighbors, one of the businesses, came late one night to go get some paperwork, saw what was going on, and called the village, and then the village on them, even though it was on their property, and then called the restaurant owner and said, "You know what the fuck's going on at your restaurant right now?" Apparently they know each other and everything else. And then I had to find out through another friend. Nobody called me and told me. I already got the signature from the dude. So I found out 2 months later after the film was wrapped.
Were you on set?
What's up?
Were you on the set?
Oh yeah, I was very much on the set. I was in the scenes that they were shooting.
Right.
And yeah, we had no issues. Nobody even came up to us. Like nobody thought to even say, "Hey, like what's going on here?" And that's the hilarious part. Like normally film crews attract people. In this case, no one bothered us. No one was even involved. Even though there's 30 people crowded around a camera behind the camera watching a simulated sex scene happen in the back alley. Which is beyond me. But yeah, that happened. That did happen.
All right.
All right. Well, that's a thing.
So I've had my fair share of interesting stories in the film world.
Yeah. Where were we?
Locations, I think.
The porn thing, I don't know.
Whenever porn gets involved, it derails everything.
I know, right?
Zach,
As
help me out.
usual.
Recovery.
Actually, here I have a question for you. So you have Langston Fishburne in your project?
Yeah.
How did you get him?
He just auditioned. Honestly, he just sent an audition, and it was funny because like, I watched it and I was like, oh, he's great, and I saw the name and I was like, Langston Fishburne. I'm like, he's probably not. Like, he's not related to there's no way. And I was like, I'm casting him, and then like our producer's like, is he related to Lawrence Fishburne? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, you're probably just being racist. And then like, like. He's like, no, he looks just like him. I'm like, fine, I'll look him up. I looked him up. I'm like, oh, it's his son. Okay. By that point, I'd already casted him. I'm like, all right then, cool.
It was hilarious because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, he looks so damn familiar, and I just can't put my
just
finger
like
on
his
it.
dad. It's really creepy.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta look this. Holy crap! Wow, good job. Yeah, good for you.
I can't wait for the
It
day
was awesome.
we randomly have the offspring of an Oscar nominee walk into our backstage.
Could it be
audition.
Matthew McConaughey just so he could say all right in a tiny voice?
Yes, it can.
All right, so here's a big one for you. Tell me about how the makeup design came to be, like, because that makeup job was really well done. Because
Thank you.
actually, how we first learned the movie was it was at the New Jersey Film Festival, of course. And we actually came in at the very tail end of it because we wanted to check out a few of the shorts. And we got the tail end of the movie and we saw the makeup design for Lillith, and we thought it was a really detailed and well done piece. So it's like, I guess, how long did it take to put the actress in there? Who designed it? How did the design come to be to look the way it was?
So the design came. It started with just like how I described it in the script, and then I sent it to my friend who is also my tattoo artist. She's a really fantastic artist. So I was just like, hey, I kind of like rough sketched out something. I sent her that, and then like the description from the script, and I was like, hey, can you draw like actual concept art of this? So she did. And then I was looking for like a makeup artist in the area. I found a really talented guy by the name of Ricky Vitus, who was on Face Off.
Ooh, very nice.
The show, not the John Travolta movie.
Yeah.
And then like
what?
I used to watch that show all the time.
Yeah.
Either way, both are great.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
good with both.
no,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, so he kind of sculpted it. He had cast Savannah and sculpted it all out, and then we had a different application artist on set named Mel Licata, who was also on Face Off. Ricky got me in touch with her, but the two of them, yeah, they did a really great job. I think the application process for the full body was about 6 hours.
All right.
And by the end, I think it had worked down to about 3.5, 4. It was like
Okay.
a full week where we were just doing that stuff. So yeah, I think by the last day of the week, it was like 4 hours.
Yeah. Did you shoot all those scenes back to back just so you can get them
Yeah,
out of the way?
just get them out of the way. We like blocked that out right in the middle of production. It was like 7 days of just all the effects stuff. And that week was a kind of a nightmare, but it was fun. It was a good time. Like especially that whole like climax scene was just one, like I want to say like an 18-hour day or something. It was crazy. Like we were up at like 4 because like Savannah had to be in full makeup, so she had to be like her call time was like 4 a.m. and then we had to shoot the whole fight scene, and we were done around midnight. I think it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Been
rough.
there, been there, done that. Bought that T-shirt.
Good
Yeah.
work, man.
One scene where I'll say that she was a trooper was, I guess, her introductory scene.
Oh, in the
Late night in the woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was cold.
The coon, I'll call it.
It was cold.
It did not look warm.
Not warm at all. I felt so bad. But yeah, no, she was a trooper the whole week. She didn't complain once. And like mind you, those contacts had her like blind. She was just she couldn't touch him because she had the claws on. It was a mess. But like she absolute trooper. Didn't complain, didn't say a word. Was just like super nice the whole time.
Yeah.
And her performance came through the makeup as well, which can sometimes be really difficult. Like I think Ron Perlman once said that when you have all the prosthetics on you, you have to overact so that the emotions really come through your face.
Yeah. And I mean, like during that climax scene, I mean, that was toward the end of the week. So by that point, she was like fully comfortable in it, and it really worked out in our favor on that front because she was just like giving it her all, and I really love how it came out.
Nice.
Yeah, great work.
Yeah. We're all crazy anyway, man, Lee. So yeah, so her not complaining about it doesn't surprise me. All actors are crazy, and some.
No, I know. I mean, she's also just like the nicest person on the planet. So
And those
I'm
are the
sure
best
she
people.
was cursing us out. It was just in her head.
Oh, of course. Of course, and that's what nice people do. They don't curse out loud. They just curse in their head.
Any other production technical aspects you guys want to ask about before next section of questions?
No, you know what? I have a question. With the woods and everything else, how did you work out permits for that?
I just got lucky in the fact that my next door neighbor has a large chunk of woods behind his house, and he just kind of was like, "Yeah, it's fine."
Okay,
Nice.
all right. Well, that's
Okay, cool.
Easy enough. That's definitely
It was
helpful.
very DIY. The whole production was very like ghetto, and we just kind of like low keyed a lot of it. But yeah, he's
Just
just
like,
like, yeah, you guys do whatever you want back there.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. The
Yeah.
good old fashioned gorilla.
Oh,
Exactly. Had the
Yeah.
cops called on us, but I'm like, hey, we have a contract saying we could be here.
Tell us about that. Or was that it?
Oh, did we get
What was
disconnected?
that? I lost you guys for a second.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
it just lagged.
Yeah, tell us about the. So the cops just showed up and it was very in out, or
Yeah, the neighbors across the creek were like, hey, like, do you guys have permission to be there? We're like, yeah, we do. We're shooting a movie. And then they called the cops anyway, and the cops showed up. I'm like, look, we have a contract saying we'd be here. I will show it to you if you want. But they were like, no, it's cool. We just have to make sure. I'm like, okay, bye.
The opposed to Chicago cops that literally just roll past and they wave.
Yeah.
They have no shit to be dealing with.
Actually, the cops we've
Very
dealt
true.
with have all just asked us, "Hey, what are you?"
Well, yeah,
filming?"
they-
like actually it was on episode 2, I think. They just rolled up and was like, "We saw you guys filming," and my partner was just kind of curious what you guys were doing. It was like, "It's a
No.
horror series."
Dude,
That's
it was both episodes.
That actually happened in
Yeah.
3. They were literally filming a scene in under an overpass that has 2 lanes, and there literally is the actual structure that's holding up the bridge, which the red line goes under, and this dude is in the middle of the street in that little overpass, and we're just hanging out there. Cops pull up, and I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So, and they pull up, they're like, hey guys, what are you guys filming? They go, just having a conversation with us while we're in the middle of the fucking street, and they're stopping traffic in the middle at 2 a.m. Just like, yeah, it's cool. They like, my partner wanted to know what you guys were up to. Oh, that's awesome. Like, and the one dude looked it up on his phone. Like, and then actually the driver put it in park and then looked it up on his phone. They like, it wasn't a fast thing. It was an actual thing. And I think they finally got the hint that we wanted to keep working.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
drove off.
we potentially got 2 viewers out of it.
We did.
Hey, there you
get
go.
some-
I mean, you'll get those 2 watching.
CPD, man.
I'm not complaining. I'm just waiting for the day we try to do it without a permit. It's just like, yeah, can we see your permit? Crap. The one time.
No, we.
It's the advice I passed on to all these guys on the film of episode 2, which I'll pass on to you and any other filmmaker that's watching this. There wasn't even a cop that was the first person that asked us what we were doing on episode 2. It was just some random guy in a car. Nobody knew what to say to him, and I just walked up and I just shouted at him, "We're filming a horror series. It's called Living Nightmares. Look us up on YouTube." And he's like, "Cool," drives away, and I just turn to our crew and say, "If somebody asks us what you're doing, turn into a marketing opportunity."
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
Become a salesman. That'll drive them away.
You know,
Not entirely accurate.
No, that is accurate. And get your permits in order. I always, I say it makes life so much easier.
Makes stress so much easier to deal with.
Yeah, you're not
now
worried about
like the town stuff. We had permits. We had like cops like shutting down traffic for us. It was great.
Nice.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, that cost us a pretty penny out here in Chicago.
It did out here too. Don't get me wrong, but it was helpful because there was like a house like throwing on party music, and he's just like, "You want me to shut that down?" I'm like, "Please."
Oh, that's great. I wish I could do that.
That's pretty great. And it's some filming going on down here and everything else. Y'all need to keep that down.
It was great. I was like, yeah, please, thanks. That would be awesome.
We can do that? Awesome.
The craziest thing that we got to do was tow somebody, or more specifically, I towed somebody. It was right. You know what? But Brendan said it the best. He's right in our workspace. He's like right in our workspace.
It's like there was one we had a patch of parking space that we were filming at, and basically we were doubling it as an actual part of the street. And we had this specific stretch of road on our permit, and we actually ended up getting a bit more than we thought we were. And there were 2 cars parked in the space that we had reserved. One of them was just kind of at the end of the section that we didn't even think we would get, so we didn't care about him. But this one guy was parked literally right in the middle of where we planned to have the car in the film. And it was also to what was our craft services area as well. It was like right in the middle of our workspace. So I had Mark call the tow truck while I set up the camera.
Yeah, that's why I always encourage people to have on-set producers, because they deal with all the logistical bullshit that nobody else wants to deal with.
Oh, no, for sure.
It'd be the fixing guy.
Yeah, you need somebody on set to do all the paperwork while the rest of us are doing stuff.
Running around like crazy people.
Trying to actually get the film made.
Yeah. But that definitely happened. Oh god. Anyway, moving on.
So moving on. So were there any challenges during filming that created any compromises, like something that you had to change in the script the day of, or any just fun challenge stories that you'd like to share?
You just asked that again. You lagged for a second.
Were there any challenges during filming, like anything that caused any compromises to scripts that you had to do a quick rewrite the day of, or just any fun challenges or any fun challenge stories that you'd like to share?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, so the one bit that I'm still mad to this day about, the whole bit with like the body bag outside with like the crowd around that little Tarantino-esque shot, that was supposed to be very, very different, but we had to like we didn't have Langston anymore. We had to push that back. We were supposed to shoot that the day that he was still there, and then we just ran out of time, and then had to push that back to like the end of shooting, and then didn't have enough people show up, so we had to just totally scrap what I had and then just kind of retool it to being something really quick that we could do that gets the point across without, like, you know, having it be too much of a hassle because we still had a bunch of other stuff to shoot that day. But the most fun that I would say is when we were shooting the ritual out in the woods. There was a 90% chance of rain that day. And we were no backup plan. We're like, oh, we're fucked. We're just gonna like be out there. Like, can I curse on here? Is that cool?
Oh, by all
Oh
means.
yeah, please.
Yeah. So I'm like, we're fucked. And so like we're like, all right, we're just gonna go out there, do as much as we can, as quick as we can, and then just kind of like, you know, run and gun. And then if whatever we don't get, we'll have to push back. And then some, you know, god, devil, something smiled on us because we're looking at the Doppler radar and the clouds literally parted over my town. I'm like, cool, thanks. Don't know what I did to deserve this, but all right, thank you.
You just made every filmmaker listening to this jealous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fairness,
We can't be jealous because we got just as lucky.
Oh yeah, we definitely got just as lucky on episode 3, so we can't talk a lot of shit about that.
I think it was just somebody being like, hey, I know that if you get rained out today, you're gonna kill yourself. So like, maybe I'm gonna stop that from happening because I had just gotten dumped that same day in the middle of like production. It was a good time.
God.
Yeah, it was like a whole mess of a day, and then I was like, if it rains, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna blow my fucking brains.
That's so terrible.
Yeah, been there, done that. Bought that T-shirt a couple times.
I can't say I've dealt with the dump part, but yeah, the whole
yeah.
rain.
You know what? Try being one of my buddies who was dating a girl in a play that he was in, and he was the lead actor and she was the lead actress. She dumped him the night before opening night, and they had to put on the entire play with her.
Ooh.
Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry. I take that back. It was a week before. The visit was a week before, so we had to deal with all the tech rehearsal and everything leading up to that.
Oh,
and then still pretend like she's in love with her on stage.
Well, he's either a really good actor or
acting.
Ooh.
It was Vinny.
Oh,
It was Vinny.
Yeah.
The
I'm sure he appreciates you naming him by name.
Right.
Yeah, we may.
It was
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to blurt that out.
We don't bleep. We have a very non-bleeping policy on this podcast.
Sorry, Vinny. You know I love you, brother, but that's a good fucking story.
You better ask him for permission.
He'll get over it. You know what? I'm sure at some point when he's a guest, he's gonna come on here and tell all the mad shit he knows about me. So, yeah. Oh god. Oh, I really did make a mistake. He knows a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Oh god. Anyway,
so I guess I didn't have this one written down. It just kind of came to me. It's the reverse of the question I just asked. Anything during filming that turned out exactly the way that you envisioned it?
Yeah, there were a couple bits. Now that I'm thinking, hang on. Was there anything that turned out exactly as I pictured it? Oh, the frat party actually did. The frat party came out really, really, really good. I'm still really happy with how that scene turned out because, like, it could have been a disaster, but somehow we managed to make my house look like a frat house. So I'm actually pretty happy with the turnout there, and also the bit right after where the bit right after the frat house. I'm not spoiled, so I don't spoil too much. But,
Yeah, I was.
the locker room bit.
All right.
After, yeah, that turned out perfectly, and that was like one of those mornings that was like hell because I had maybe given myself a concussion the night before, and it was like I don't know if I actually did, but I was like breaking stuff to like kind of dress up the scene. I was breaking like 2x4 jumped on one and it like whacked up and smacked me right in the head. What happened?
We just lost you there a little bit
Oh,
when you were breaking stuff.
Yeah, I was just breaking stuff to dress the scene, and I was like breaking like these big like 2x4s, and then I like jumped on one to snap it, and it jumped up and like cracked me right in the head like hard.
Oh,
So,
Damn.
It's
fun,
it's
but,
so nice. It's so nice and comforting to know that we have other crazy people that also make films. And it's not just us. Like
Oh yeah,
we're
no,
not
there's.
the only crazy people that
I
are
think you
around.
have
Really nice and
to make
comforting.
films.
That's just a rule of horror filmmakers and indie horror filmmakers especially.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you have to be a little crazy to make movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. But also, as I've said many times, literally the nicest, sweetest, most passion-driven people I've ever met.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I think the horror community as a whole are some of the nicest people I've ever met.
you
Yeah.
said that, yeah.
Yeah.
We actually said that before.
I mean, you guys-
We've said that many times.
You guys are sauces. They're so sweet.
Yeah, like we just started going to conventions just this year. We've been amazed at how many people are interested in what we're doing, and we're interested in what they're doing.
It's a really great community.
That's how this is happening right now.
No, it's an amazing community to be a part of, and I'm like I've been. I mean, even before I was into horror, I was going to Monster Mania a lot, and like it was just really fun.
Yeah, and what other genre has so many filmmakers getting together, and it's like, what are you working on? And it's like just so supportive of each other, and it's I never got that when I was working in other genres.
And I can say that I've never gotten that in other genres either. I mean, I haven't got that for anything.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a wonderful community of like-minded people, and I mean like I don't know, I'm really about it.
Yeah. And then just I tell every actor that I'm friends with, and everyone's like, oh, you need to get on a horror movie set, and they're like, why? The serious of serious theater actors and everything else. I'm like, why? It's a lot of fucking fun. That's why. That's why you need to do it.
Oh yeah,
You haven't
same.
lived until you've been covered in blood.
No, you really haven't.
That is a true statement.
And I've now been killed by 2 horror directors
Nice.
on film. So
And one of them, he was pantsless.
one of them I was pantsless, and the other one I was in clown makeup. Surprised that wasn't the same movie. All right, hold on. I had saw an interview with Harrison Ford 2 days before I was
Stop
on.
trying to justify it.
I'm justifying it. I had saw an interview with Harrison Ford about 2 days before I was on Zach's set about the scene with him and Sean Connery together when they're tied up. And it was super hot because there was a fucking fire in there. So Sean Connery's like, you're gonna shoot me above here, right? And they're like, yeah. It's like, do you mind if I take my pants off? And they're like, yeah, you're Sean Connery. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And like Harrison Ford's like, well, fuck, if he's gonna take his pants off, I'm gonna take my pants off. And I got on set, and like 2 reasons: it was fucking hot down there, and 2, I didn't want to get blood out of very nice pants. So I was like, can I take these pants off? He's like, why? I was like, because you're not gonna shoot me from here, above.
Just because Sean Connery and Harrison Ford did it doesn't mean you have to.
I was gonna
You're
say-
not Sean Connery. and Harrison Ford.
Exactly. He's Sean Connery. You're not.
But everybody wants to be them when they grow up. So
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not wrong.
You are not an extraordinary gentleman.
So,
And I'm sure he wishes he wasn't.
he really wishes he wasn't. Oh god, he turned down Lord of the Rings because he didn't get it, and then he got the script for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He's like, oh, I don't get it, so it must be good. That is not a hyperbole. That is what happened.
That is a tragedy.
That is a true fucking story. Is what happened.
Whatever we got, what we got, and we're living with it.
Yeah. So anyway, Brandon, Zach, any questions while Brandon recovers?
Nope. Continue.
All right. Just a couple more questions about production before we move on to post production. How are we on time right here? Okay, we got a couple minutes before we have to break for a battery change. So I guess what was there anything that the actors brought to their characters that necessarily wasn't on the page?
I definitely think in the case of like a lot of in most of the cases they were all really able to bring like what I wrote to life, which was I mean that's everything a director can ask for. But as far as like Charlie goes, Taylor brought a lot of that.
We just lost you there.
So as far as like for the most part they all brought what I wrote, and they brought like the energy that I needed from them, which is pretty much everything a director could ask for. But when it comes to Charlie, Taylor brought a certain sass to the role that like I couldn't have like asked for more because it just kind of worked. Like he brought this very sassy gay energy to the whole thing, which like it worked. It made like a lot of his delivery like 10 times funnier than it was written, and then he also him and Nell, who plays Jenna, are friends like in real life, and they would just ad lib a lot, and some of it made it into the movie because I was like, that's too funny to not include, and then other things I was like, oh my god, guys, all right, quit, like enough, wrap it up. But like, you know, we there were times when like we would just be like, just go for it, and I just kind of let them go like unhinged for a bit, and it got insane.
Those are the best.
Oh
Those are
yeah,
fun
no, for
times.
sure.
They yeah, those are the best.
And was there anything that your crew brought to the table as well that necessarily wasn't on the page?
Not really. I mean, like I think we all like it was all really well communicated beforehand, and we talked everything out so much that everyone knew kind of how we had to go about it, and the only real obstacles were just the fact that we didn't have those locations sometimes until like right beforehand, so we had to kind of figure some stuff like that out on the go, just in terms of like, can we set this shot up the way we wanted it to or not, because the room doesn't allow for it. But I mean, no, for the most part, it was all just a really like positive work environment, I would say.
Nice. All right. Do you guys have any last questions before we take a break?
No.
You know, we can take a break real quick.
Yeah, let's take a quick break. Cool. All right, and we're back from a short break. We just finished talking about development, pre-production, post-production, or not post-production, principal photography. We're going to talk about post-production.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's talk about that. So what was your editing process like? We talked a little bit about that over the break. Was there anything, I guess, that did you get into post-production? Were there any scenes where you felt you were missing any shots, anything that needed to be kind of reworked? And I know you said you put a lot of prep into the shot structure. So how smooth of a post-production process, and how long did post last as well?
Post lasted, like I said, we were very short on crew, so post lasted about a year, I would say, give or take. A lot of it was just volleying it back and forth among different people. It was just a lot of that. It was a very unconventional post-production process, but we didn't really have anything that was like too bad as far as like, you know, dealing with it in the edit. There was one scene we had to cut for the sake of like we were trying to get access to a strip club, and they were either giving us the runaround or like just not getting back in touch with us in time, and it was a whole bunch of stuff. And then we originally were supposed to shoot it during principal photography, and the only day that they had available for us was a day that we could not make work. So there was a scene we had to cut that involved that, because without the establishment of the strip club, it didn't look like anything. It just looked like really cheap and wrong. So we just kind of axed that bit. And then there was another scene that, for a ton of reasons, and that I won't go into because I don't want to blow up anyone's spot, I'll just say that the scene was unusable. It was absolutely unusable, and we chopped it, and it worked fine without it, but man, that was a rough one.
Also bought that t-shirt before.
We've all been there before.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Seen it, done it, lived
Dealt
it.
with it.
Yep,
Yeah.
and I've been on sets pre-DP days where shots were just too blown out. I've been one of us has been on a shoot where something was unusable because the sound person didn't say that the floor was creaking.
I've been on a set where literally all crew members were trying to be all positions, oof.
That's kind of what ours was, honestly. But
Yeah.
I'll say this: the reason it was unusable was because of a performance.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, Mr. Lightning Rod for good casting doesn't understand that. I'm talking about you.
Well,
Zach is a lightning rod for excellent casting.
Oh, yeah.
He the man's unfucking touchable when it comes to casting. And David, myself, Brandon have all seen the shit show of bad casting
Oh, yeah.
and are just very, very just bad personalities on set. But somehow Zach has remained unscathed.
Again, it's one of the reasons why I like to meet everybody in person. That's why I don't take video submissions. I like to talk with the people, just get a general idea of what the personality's like. So that
Yeah.
because being on set can be very stressful, and I don't want somebody with an attitude or somebody who's on a high horse or just having a really bad. It's just like
we have a no assholes posse.
yeah, essentially.
No, for
I want
sure.
people to
I
be
mean-
there because, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Go for it.
thankfully, I mean, like, the person in question wasn't an asshole at all. I mean, nicest person ever, just,
It was performance.
Yeah.
not a good performance at all. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Fair.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
As for Zach being a lightning rod, I'm just going to say, Zach, the bigger you are, the harder you fall.
Yeah, sorry.
Luckily, he's only 3 foot tall, so
It's probably part of the reason. No.
2 feet tall.
No.
So anyway, but yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of horror stories. People who complain because it's 10 minutes past end of call. I have work in the morning. I'm like, have you ever been at a film set ever?
Yeah.
Ever?
No, thankfully, we didn't have to deal with any of that. It was...
You don't want any part of it, man. You
Oh,
really don't.
I mean, there was
no.
some headbutting amongst all of us toward the end, but that's just because it was 34 days straight of like, just, you know, you're with each other that long, and you're just gonna start hating each other a little bit. But I mean, by the time production
34
ended,
days, long days,
days.
just constant.
Very long days.
Yeah, back to back. Yeah, no, that's understandable.
And I've heard once before it takes 300 hours with somebody to truly know them. So if you're working 30 plus days straight, I think you could say you know
Yeah.
everybody that was on that set.
well, that's the thing. I mean, like, production ended, and then we were all fine again. It was just like, you know, it's just high stress
Yeah.
environment. It's a lot, but
Everybody go home, get some rest, drink some coffee, do what you got to do.
You go
We'll
take a
reconvene
nap.
later. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Exactly.
I have two quick questions for you. Something I forgot about in production. Is one, did you have any? Was everybody sleeping in their own bed? The whole shoot, or did you have some places that you had to do on location?
So we did a little bit of on location. All the stuff in Emma's apartment was done actually at my aunt's apartment, and there was a good chunk of us sleeping there. But for a lot of production, I mean, like some people were going home because most of them are from New York. We put Langston up in a hotel because he's from like way like upstate New York. But I mean, as far as everybody else, by the second week, everyone was so comfortable. We were all just like staying here at my house, like.
Oh, nice.
It was like a
Nice.
house of like 15 people, and it was crazy, but it was fun. It was like a nice little family environment.
That's cool. That's cool. And actually, the last question I was going to ask too about this, because we covered a lot of different things, but I wanted to hear from you. You know, obviously with being everybody at the house and 15 people running around, and then you're building kind of a cool environment, a family environment. Do you have any fun, exciting, interesting stories that happened during either pre-production or even post? I've had plenty of things that we've caught in plenty of stories in post-production that are nice and fun. So I wanted to hear some fun stories as well, not just the technical aspect, but some fun stories.
Yeah, I mean, like there was never anything like too crazy. Funny enough, like I have a couple. There was one night, the night before we shot all the hospital stuff, which was like a 7 a.m. call. My DP Vin and my one lead actor Nell, who plays Jenna, somehow convinced me and my sound guy and Robin, who played Emma, to stay up with them until 5 a.m. drinking and just playing Overcooked and shooting the shit, and we did, and then. Mind you, 7 a.m. call time, and then it's like 5 in the morning. I'm like, shit, why did we do this? And then the next day we were all miserable, but I'm like, we did this to ourselves.
Yeah, there's no one to blame on that one.
Okay, one question. Who burned the kitchen down the most?
No one. I mean, several people went through all my alcohol, but like,
Well,
And-
actors and crew members drinking? What? That's
Unheard of,
crazy.
yeah.
That never happens.
But no, I mean,
Never.
it was nice. We just had like we like some days would end. We would just have like little dinner parties, and like Vin would bring over his Switch, and everyone was just playing Overcooked, and we're just like it was a really nice environment. The funniest one though for me, so during the frat party, there's the bit when Lily is making out with people on the couch, and we had.
Cut it out.
Okay, shit.
We lost you at Lily making out.
Oh yeah, so Lily's making out with dudes on the couch, right? And so we had found one dude from backstage who was like supposed to come to do this, and the guy is like, "Hey, I'm gonna be late," and I'm like, "How late?" And he's like, "Hour and a half," and I'm like,
Whoa.
"Dude, you have a walk-on role. I'm not holding up production for an hour and a half for you." And he's like, "Well, he's like, it's not my fault. You changed the call time." I'm like, "I made the call time later." like I'm like, I pushed it back. But so
Okay.
fate would have it. So what happened is, so she's making out with the first guy, and then she like pushes him away, and then pulls another dude down to the couch. The dude she pulls down to the couch is actually my AD. And I was just like, "Hey, Chris, I need you to make out with Savannah."
Okay. Okay.
Long story short, they're still dating to this day.
Good for them.
Wow, look at that. So that's a good
2 years
story.
later, they're still together. Which I mean, no, they're great. It was just fun. That was me being a good wingman because I knew Savannah had a crush on him, so I was like, "I got you."
Nice, nice. That's like a David Arquette and Courtney Cox story right there. That's cool. The
These guys wouldn't do that for me.
yeah, well, you're married. He was.
She would do it for me.
I'm staying out of it.
No, I know your wife. I'm definitely staying the fuck out of it. And actually, even worse, she'll call Sarah.
Oh shit! Yeah.
We need to behave because they talk to each other. His wife and my girlfriend have now become friends.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so there's that to deal with. I know, right? But yeah, no, cool. That's anything. Any other fun anecdotes or crazy things?
To me, that's the funniest one. I just think that's really like I'm a matchmaker. I got this shit. Yeah, no, that's funny. 2 relationships actually started on set. Funny enough, like that one, and then Robin, who plays Emma, and my friend Dylan, who plays like the sad dude who Lily meets at the bar. They're now together and living together in Colorado. So I mean, like that's I'm like I'm not responsible for that one, but half responsible because I introduced them. So.
Well, I mean,
True.
it's your movie.
Exactly.
And it goes back to that saying.
If it wasn't for that,
many
they wouldn't
people
be
make
there.
a movie, but the director takes all the credit.
Exactly.
But also takes all the blame.
Yes.
That's
Also
it.
true.
Yeah, so there's that.
It's a double-edged sword.
Actually, the director takes all the producer gets all the blame. Blame that guy.
Not on the public side. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I think.
Yeah, getting back to post, I do think it was a very well edited movie. It was 90 minutes, which was this was your first feature,
My
right?
first feature, yeah.
First feature. So for it to feel that, to be paced that well, it was a very quick 90 minutes.
Thank you. I really
Okay,
appreciate that.
I've been through 5-minute short films that feel like they're 90 minutes.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was 90 minutes that felt like half that time, maybe.
And
Yeah.
we've been through other feature films that have felt even longer than that.
Exactly.
So it was a bit, and also I really liked the tone because it was funny, but it wasn't that wink at the camera funny. Like all the characters felt very true to the situation that they were going through. Because I've seen a lot of horror comedies where it's like, hey, we're funny, See us winking at the camera.
We're funny.
Well,
So
thank you. I'm glad that I'm glad I didn't come off like too self-aware to the point where it was like cringy. So I'm really it did capture the tone I was going for pretty well. So I'm happy that it was it carried across and people felt that as well.
Yeah, personally, I'm the kind of person who the first rule of comedy for me is don't act like you know you're in a comedy.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of confidence to really commit to that, especially at the independent level, especially for a first feature film, to be confident with that and stick true to your guns on that one from beginning to end. So,
I would love to take credit for that, but that's all my cast. I mean, they really just brought it home and sold it, and like really made it feel very human and very like real. And I was really just happy with all of them.
Well, I mean, some of the best acting advice I ever got was in a comedy, find the drama, and in a drama, find the comedy. So that way everything stays grounded.
Yeah.
You know, if you'll have real characters that way if you find the antithesis of whatever the driving force of the story is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next, let's talk about the music. You had a few songs in there. Were there any bands that you knew, or did you reach out to any bands? Like, tell me about how you put together the music listings.
Yeah, so I mean, I had for like the most of the regular score, I had my friend Dan Christian, who's a really fantastic composer, do like all the actual musical score for it, and he did a really great job capturing the tone I needed. And then like just for filling in some of the other sections where either we didn't have the money to pay him anymore, or we just like wanted something more like ambient. I reached out to a couple local bands, a couple local SoundCloud artists who I knew, and then some of the stuff playing that's playing at the frat party was actually stuff that my sound guy had on his SoundCloud, and we were just like listening to it, and I was like, oh, this kind of slaps. Can we put this like in the movie? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, awesome. There we go.
Perfect.
Nice. Very cool.
It's all about who you know.
Always.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, in this business, definitely.
Always.
Yeah.
Zach, do you have any post-production questions?
Oh yeah. What system did you edit on? Like, did you use Adobe? Did you use Avid? Did you use Final Cut? Like,
it was 90% Premiere.
Okay.
And then about 10% DaVinci Resolve.
Resolve.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hate Avid. I hate it so much.
It's the only editing software I've yet to work with. I've worked with Sony Vegas. I don't mind it. I've worked with Final Cut. I refuse to use it. And I've worked with Adobe, and I love it to death.
I actually love Final Cut. I love it. I find it super useful, especially with like the current MacBooks that have like the touch bar. It's so streamlined and it's so user friendly. But I do like Premiere. I do like Premiere a lot. I'm getting used. I'm learning Resolve slowly. But yeah, Avid. I had a college class that taught with Avid, and it is the least user friendly interface I've ever had to deal with. It's awful.
Yeah, it seems counterproductive to make
Absolutely.
it that.
I'm happy it's not the standard anymore because it was the industry standard for a while, and I'm really happy that people are moving away from that.
Yeah, I will say I know the version of Final Cut that I used was what the hell was it, 7?
That was at the school?
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, they taught us Final Cut 7. They refused to upgrade to the latest version of Final Cut, which I hear is better and more user-friendly, but it was such a glitchy, buggy program. And then I hate Macs, and I hate their UI system and everything. So
you hate Apple, period.
Still, it's like it was just so tedious and annoying, and I could just work so much quicker and efficient on Adobe Premiere because I also love to do a lot of visual effects and stuff. So moving from Premiere to After Effects, just that smooth like workflow for me, just I can't work without it at this point.
I switched to Adobe.
I definitely prefer Final Cut, but that's just like I grew up on Final Cut 7. And that's like what I learned it all on, but then I eventually upgraded to X, and I kind of like it. Like it was really not great at first, but since they've done all the updates on it, it's gotten a lot better. And the render time is like a blink of an eye.
Wow.
That would be nice.
I'm a DaVinci Resolve guy, but also I'm the one that does our color grading. So Resolve, I feel, just gives me the most.
It's great. It's great for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that I won't argue. I can't color to save my life. That's why I let him do it. It's the only posting I can't do.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yet.
You know what? Do what you do best. Delegate the rest.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Very true.
Yeah.
Any last post-production questions before we move on?
Did you have any fix your fuck up scenarios with compositing?
A little bit, yeah. We had a couple, just a few here and there. Nothing too glaring, but like there were things that like we knew we were gonna have to do, like with like the pasties on Lilith's full body like demon stuff. And then there were like other things that we didn't realize at first. We were like, oh shit, we're gonna have to fix that. But it was never anything that was too dramatic, thankfully. So yeah, it was on that front, I was pretty grateful because it could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah,
we've had plenty of stories. The one I love to tell is our first episode of Living Nightmares was the remote We in our
I was going to talk with the boom mic.
I was going to say the boom mic is the thing that.
Well, the boom mic is what Wes caught, but the remote is what is a funny story. There's a scene where a kid is sitting at a kitchen table eating a hamburger. We watched this many times, a few clips of this. It wasn't until this one time we actually caught that there was a remote in the background. No one knew that remote was there the entire shoot and everything else. So when we saw this remote, we knew that this has been filmed many times in different takes. So Brandon and I sat in a panic for about 30 seconds while the scene was going on, praying to whatever God that we could possibly call upon, that remote didn't move, disappear, or turn the opposite direction or do whatever the hell else. We're watching it, and I'm like, I turned to him, I'm like, Brandon, I was like, you see it? He's like, what? I was like, the remote. He's like, oh no. And we hold our breath for about 30 seconds until the scene was over. Nothing changed. The remote stayed
And then we had to
exactly the same.
rewatch the scene again because we weren't paying attention to the actual.
Oh yeah, we didn't even watch the scene. We just watched the remote for 30 seconds.
Again,
I had a couple moments like that. There's one that actually ended up having to be in the movie because we had no way to remove it. But I'm not gonna say it right here because I don't want anyone to look for it.
No, because then everyone will notice it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. I'm
I've seen
not
that
gonna say
I've
it
not
because no
told
one
them.
has noticed it. No one has noticed it, and I plan to keep it that way. So I'm just gonna say that there is something that I've noticed, and I cringe every time I see it, but I'm not gonna say what it is.
Yeah. Every time I see something like that, I quickly fix it and I don't tell them so they can't point it out later. It's just like, oh no, there's plenty of stuff in there. You just don't see it.
One day, David and I will get you drunk and you'll tell us.
I ain't getting no.
One day
You have no filter when you're drunk, so.
Yeah,
I know.
Zero.
Damn it, we should have asked him at Wes's party.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, you would have told us in a heartbeat. It's that. It's that thing. And we have a friend Wes who we know would be the best scripty in the world.
Yeah,
but nothing would get done if he was a scripty. Nothing would get done. That molecule is slightly off. We're gonna need to change that. It's like no one cares. No one cares about a molecule, Wes. But he's the guy who's caught several things that we didn't even. And there's a boom mic right
he's
there.
caught boom mics. He's literally caught everything.
Everything.
I think that's it for post production. So ready to move on?
Yeah, I got my question.
Oh, actually, I have one more question for post production. Was there any visual effects work that?
Yeah, there were, like I said, I mean, I kind of chalked that in with compositing. There was a little bit here and there. Something at the end, the very end bit involving a lot of blood. Some of that was post. Some of that was VFX. All the bits with her eyes changing were VFX. Aside from that, like I said, it was mostly just kind of like little bits of compositing and like covering up little blemishes here and there, but nothing too bad.
Fair enough.
So let's talk about.
I got one more post question. Was there anything in post that you caught that surprised you in a really positive way? Maybe a shot looked better than you had originally anticipated, or a performance really stuck out to you and said, "Holy crap! I didn't realize how good this was until I seen it actually in post."
There were a few moments where, like shots that I didn't think I liked, like in the moment, I kind of really thought on and I really did like, or it's like things that like my editor would be like, I really love that and explained why, and I was like, okay, I can actually, from your perspective, I really fuck with that. And then, but like there were most of the things really came about just from like the way Evan had edited certain scenes, like made them hit in a lot better of a way that I was really pleased with. It was never really anything that like I rethought about like the way something was being delivered or anything like that. It was mostly just like the way that the editing punched it up a bit.
Okay, very cool.
Suit.
All right, so let's move on to. So, you filmed it, you shot it, you edited it.
Yeah.
You got final cut. Tell us about some of the festivals that you've submitted to, the reception you've received, and of course, we'll talk about how we met you at New Jersey, a certain piece of memorabilia that I hope you'll show off to our audience.
Yeah, sure.
When we get to it.
Yeah, so I mean, we submitted to about, I want to say 27, 28 festivals, something like that. Didn't get into most. We got into one down in Arkansas, the Hot Springs Horror Film Festival, which was an interesting experience. Then we got into down in Florida. We got into the Halloween Horror Picture Show, and then we got into New Jersey Horror Con. And then we just did a bunch of local screenings just around New Jersey, and then we got one in New York, and it's just been like a lot of us kind of like getting our ways into like little indie theaters and screening there for people.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
I can't let you get away with it, man. So I want to hear about what happened with the Arkansas one.
I mean, listen,
you made something. I
no,
I gotta hear about this.
It's Arkansas is just Arkansas is a miserable place.
Okay, that took a turn.
So where it was like, of all the places in the U.S. I never wanted to visit, Arkansas was high on that list, and I went there, and everything is gray, and it's the South, and it's just really uncomfortable to be there. And then we got to Hot Springs, and the actual town has a population of maybe 16 people. The view from my hotel room was an abandoned prison with a taco truck in front of it. Like if that doesn't sum it up, like that's it. Like
that's awesome.
That's wow. Okay.
The views of our guests not necessarily reflect the views of the Midwest Horror Network.
It's not the Midwest. Don't worry about it.
The festival itself was really nice. I love their setup. I love like some of the stuff I saw there. It was just like it was weird. It was a weird time. I was there for 24 hours, and I was like, I'm glad we didn't stay the whole weekend, because if we had, I would have jumped off the roof of this hotel.
Probably landed on the taco truck.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I'm a huge, massive, and I believe I heard you correctly, but I'm a massive Halloween Horrors, fan and everything else. Was that the festival you were at? Did they host a festival?
I don't know if Halloween Horror Nights is related to the Halloween Horror Picture Show, but it's possible. It would make sense because it's in Tampa.
Oh, well then no, it would not. I missed it.
I have no idea. I know nothing about Halloween Horror Nights except for that it exists.
It's pretty great. I highly recommend it. Yeah. But how was that
on this year?
I actually didn't go to that one. That was actually the same weekend as several other screenings up here, and I was already booked for one of the ones up here, so I didn't.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know how that one went, but I mean, the reception at all the other ones that we've gone to has really been great. I mean, it's been a lot of really like people singing its praises and a lot of really, really warm reception that I didn't expect, because it's a movie that, don't get me wrong, I love it and I'm happy that I made it, but it's not the kind of movie that's for everybody, I would say. So for it to be getting so much like, like positive feedback and like a lot of praise, especially like we had a screening down in South Jersey that was like predominantly like old white people, and they were loving it, and I was like, I'm very surprised by this, but it was nice. It was a really, really cool thing to experience, especially like that and NJ HorrorCon. It just got really, really great reception. I was really happy about that.
Very cool. Very
awesome. Let's talk the New Jersey HorrorCon, because that's of course I think I mentioned this earlier on the podcast, or I at least mentioned it on one of the breaks, how the three of us got the tail end of it. That last final confrontation, of course, that very last scene, which I really love, that very last moment for the credits, by the way.
Thank you.
I won't spoil for the audience,
much, but I'm proud of that.
Yeah, so we got the tail end of it. We really liked the makeup design. As I said, is what caught our eye. And then your movie won Best Feature there. Tell us about your experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I got this thing.
Nice.
Pretty awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Hand carved.
Yeah, I mean, like kind of what I was explaining to you guys during the break is I did not expect to win at all. We were up against things that were, they had better budgets, better production design, better star power, better everything. And so, like, I went into the festival award ceremony. I was like, we're not going to win. There's no way. I'm like, Arctic's going to win, definitely. And then they said Lillith, and I was saying, there's a video online of us winning, and you hear me from the background just scream, what? Like, it's not something that I ever anticipated could happen. And so I was, like, genuinely shocked and, like, shaking and had no idea how to process it. And like the next day came and I still didn't know how to process. I'm like, did that really happen? What the hell? Like, it's a really, really crazy honor, and like so cool to be to win when like like especially like seeing some of the competition, like they all did such a great job, and I was really 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 impressed with so much of what I saw there. So it's wild.
It was really good. Yeah, it's, as I said many times before on this interview, it's a very great movie. Every character is likable. You've got a really good female lead there as well, which I think is kind of underrepresented right now in some ways in the horror genre. Good makeup effects and just a likable story.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we tend to gush if we really like something.
You'll know if we didn't like it.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of things and plenty of jokes that are made where we don't name names on this. So we all, by the way, and also too, one of our biggest things that we do to relax after we do all the work, so we will watch episodes of Goosebumps and rip it a new.
Nice.
One day the world will hear those commentaries. A lot of jokes about fog machines. A lot of jokes about fog machines. I think one of the first episodes, I realized this was like the camp episode. I was like, I wonder if the director came on set and said, all right, 15 more smoke machines, otherwise I walk.
What kind of power do you need? It's Canadian children's.
This is true. I love it how hard they try to be American in that show, but all the kids say "about."
Yeah, it's really it's great. I love it.
That's why so many episodes ADR the kids.
Oh, they have to because they're Canadian. Well, their voice probably cracked, and then also how Canadian they sound. Oh god, Goosebumps.
It's something.
The high quality of visual effects in that show too.
Oh god.
I mean, it's something. It's a
guilty pleasure. It's so much fun.
It's fun.
God, if Razzies only did things for television. Anyway, back to this.
So that was a very excellent first feature, I thought. Do you have anything in the works or in prep right now, or what's next?
Yeah, so I've got a couple things that I've been writing. I just actually finished my first draft of a short that I've been working on yesterday. And I'm going to try and get that made soon because I'm really, really attached to it. And it's something I could do I think could be really cool if I get it done right. But yeah, I mean, I have that. I've got a couple features in the works. Nothing that I want to set like expectations for just yet, but I will say that I'm not quite done with the world of Lillith yet, if that makes sense.
All right.
Very
I have some stuff I wanna explore with that stuff. So who knows?
Very cool. Very cool.
Gotcha.
Do any of you have any last questions do you have a question of the podcast?
I do. Of course, I have a question of the podcast.
So any last questions for Mark's question of the podcast?
When do you plan on distributing this on VHS?
So that's a good question. We're looking for distribution just in general. Like we're trying to find people who will pick it up. I'm really hoping that happens soon. But like if that does happen and we do get picked up, I would love to do a VHS run because I mean we made it with that aesthetic in mind, and I mean it's very.
Did you have a VHS copy at your table?
We did. It was just for show. It didn't work, but we do want to actually get it put to VHS and get this distributed old school retro style, because I love when horror movies do VHS releases of their stuff. The Barn did it. The Ranger did it. There's so many good retro.
VHS did it.
Exactly. I
think House of the Devil did it.
And
yeah.
The Veritone back in the 80s that also became famous for Dirty Dancing, which is such an odd thing, but they were notorious for B horror movies. And they did a VHS home video. They're one of the first, actually.
Which I've got a trivia question for you.
Sure.
What was the last major studio VHS release?
I do not even know the answer.
It's not a horror movie, but it was by a horror director. Do any of you guys know?
No. I know you told me. I just don't remember.
History of Violence with Viggo Mortensen, directed by.
I did know that. I don't know why I didn't.
But yeah, no, I knew that because I remember I remember hearing about that once and being like, oh wow, what the hell? Yeah, no, okay.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So, all right. So, my question of the podcast. I kind of went into a little bit earlier with you, but I think this is a very, very specific question.
Sure.
You know, what is the movie that you saw, and it could be at any point in your life, where you said, "I could do that. I can make movies."
When you say like in terms of like what inspired me to like be like I want to do horror movies, or just like in general?
In general,
what I
any movie, you know, obviously would be, you know, horror would be, you know, helpful. But if it's any movie, you know, what's the movie that you said, you know what, I want to do that. I know I got a tough one today.
I'm gonna ask, is this like where I want to do this, or the one where it dawned on us that we could do this?
No, I want to do this.
Want to do
because
Oh,
when I say want, it could go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
So-
You know.
So you're saying what like made me want to do film?
Yeah. Yeah. What movie did you see that you're like, you know what, I want to do that?
I truly don't know the answer to that question, but I can say what the thing that has inspired me most in recent years, and there have been elements of it in everything I've made since I saw it. It Follows.
Okay.
I can see that in Lilith.
Yeah. I
Thank
get
you. That
Absolutely.
that is high praise, and I appreciate that.
Nice. Mine's really easy, and it's Jurassic Park.
Okay.
When I was a little kid and I saw that for the first time, it was probably in between Jurassic Park and in between Lost World. I was watching it on VHS, and I was jumping from two ugly green couches, pretending they were dinosaurs. And I was like, "This is fucking awesome! I wish I was in Jurassic Park." But I was a smart enough kid to realize, oh, wait a minute, no, I don't want to be in Jurassic Park because I could actually die. But pretend to be in Jurassic Park. That would be fucking awesome. And I turned to my dad and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And he's like, well, that's called acting, son. That's what that is. And you guys know my dad. You know how that conversation would have went and everything else.
It probably went exactly like that.
It actually was exactly like that, and then it was over. But it's like, yeah, no, that's acting, son. You know what they're doing and everything else. That's acting. And then here's what you have to do to get that started. So there you go. That was it. That was the catalyst of getting involved with acting, and and then things led into that. So I was just curious, what's the movie that you saw as a kid or as a young adult that really said, you know what, I want to do that. I want to make movies. I'm surprised you don't have an answer for this.
I do have an answer. It's not a movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll
for
allow
me,
it.
it's
Goosebumps?
it's actually a video game that I played. Growing up, I was a big movie guy, but I was also huge into video games. And the one video game that really just kind of drove me to want to be like, kind of make movies and stuff, because I got my digital camera, was a game called The Darkness. Anybody ever played that one before?
No, I don't
Like,
even remember.
the one based on the comic, that one?
Yep.
Love that game.
Yeah. The story to that game was just so phenomenal and mind-blowing, and it was like I gave such a shit about the characters. I
Yeah.
love Jackie Estacado, and the power of the darkness itself was such an amazing force that I'm like,
Yeah.
this is fucking amazing. And
That game is like a movie.
yeah, it essentially is. And then after that, I went and I actually read all the comics, and I have every single comic in my room, and it's probably my favorite storyline. It's my favorite comic line to date.
Comics are way different from the game, but like still. Like
Yeah, but still, like, they're both phenomenal. They're both phenomenal in their own ways. The
Right.
video game is more cinematic. The comic is its own thing, but it's just this great epic storyline, and it's still. I always wanted to make that movie, and the first movie that I ever made, it was around the time the game came out. I just got myself a digital camera, and we just called it Shadow. It was this really cheap knockoff, half Predator, half Jason, half thing that kind of had darkness powers to it, with paint visual effects and stuff. You guys will never see that movie. Well, maybe you guys will, but nobody on the internet will ever see that movie. It's on a DVD. It's not on the internet, so yeah, I don't have to worry about that.
It's a hard copy.
Yeah. Back when those were a thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. But awesome.
Yeah, it's like I went out to my buddy's place one day, and it's just like, yo, let's fucking film something. Cool, let's do it. And that's kind of where my career started back in 2008. It's like, let's do this. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, that game really just, God, I
So DL expanded into either games or movies, brother. So what's something that you saw and you're like, you know what, I want to make movies.
It started with the slasher genre, really, as a kid. There was something about like it scared me watching horror films as a kid, but there was also something about them that just kept drawing me back towards it. So I would have to give the credit to the slasher genre. That's the reason why I'm sitting here today.
Okay, rock and roll, brother.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. Love it, dig it.
For me, and I've always had an interest in movies. So for me, it's just like a gradual progression. Like I remember when I was like maybe 5 or 6, my mother was reading me like it wasn't a storybook, but it was essentially a children's storybook about how a movie is made.
Wow! Oh, I love
so,
that.
like, there was a page talking about the actors, a page talking about the director, a page talking about even editing, where it's like,
Wow.
this scene doesn't work. So
That's amazing.
I have no idea what the book was. I just have that memory of me on my bed, my mom sitting next to it, and just reading those pages. So I've always had an interest in how movies were made since like really early on. And then of course I remember seeing the making of special of Phantom Menace back in '99, and then 2 years later all the making of specials of the first Lord of the Rings movie. And I'd kind of say probably the first Lord of the Rings movie is where that finally came to a head of I want to make movies. And yeah, so I didn't know. So I'll kind of credit it as Fellowship of the Ring made me decide I want to make movies. And then Big Fish, Tim Burton's Big Fish is the one that made me decide I want to be a director specifically. So naturally, when I exit school, I try to become an editor, and now I'm a DP.
Funny how life works.
Because that makes fucking sense. But yeah, that gives me a general idea. Yeah, I thought that was a cool thing. Anything you guys want to add now that Brendan gave his answer?
Yeah, I mean, I originally wanted to get into video game development, but going through high school and learning all the process that goes into that, I'm like, nope. I've been making movies.
Like my story as well.
Yeah, I've been making movies, short films for a little while now. I'm gonna stick with that.
Yeah.
For me as a kid, I was like trying to figure out why I loved watching, Freddie tear up, or bring Johnny Depp into the frickin' water bed, and yeah.
You're on prime time,
it's just like, why do I love this? Why do I keep going back? This scares me. It gives me nightmares. Why I keep rewatching it? So yeah, it was awesome. I had a good childhood.
Because you're a masochist, I guess.
Maybe, I guess so.
Maybe so. Maybe you're masochist. I don't know.
I'll figure it out at some point.
When you started off on Hellraiser.
That's great.
That is interesting. Like you're essentially starting off as almost as high as you can go. It's just like, well, it can only get less graphic.
Yeah, less graphic
for the most part.
If you're gonna teach a kid how to swim, throw him in the deep end. See what happens.
I mean, I couldn't like watch like sex scenes. Like I remember vividly, like my mom like trying to cover my eyes. It's like that. This is where you draw the line. Like,
you really?
Let you
Boobies. That's where you draw the line.
And that's where he lucks out. His is It Follows. That only came out a couple of years ago, so you didn't have to worry about his mom covering his eyes.
I mean, although I don't know,
It really was a great movie.
Yeah, it was good times.
I need to watch it again.
You should.
Which one?
It Follows.
Oh my god, fantastic! Literally my favorite horror movie at this point.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
It's climbed up. It's climbed up every time I watch it. It gets better.
Nice. All right, just because we didn't bring it up at all and everything else, I gotta hear about the first time you ever saw Society, because everyone has their story now, so you gotta join the club now.
I mean, I don't really even have a story. It's just like I've known about it for years. Everyone's like I said, everyone's seen the shunting bit, that scene. So I knew what to expect going in, but I really I just watched it because Joe Bob did the last drive-in episode with it. So I've been watching through last year, like season 1 from last year, and I watched Society, and I was like, this is great. I love it.
Yeah. Oh man. Wes's story still takes the cake.
It's because he was traumatized by the entire movie.
Well, you know, I gotta say though, the sister really did give him the Nala from Lion King, "fuck me eyes." It's like it was very self-evident.
I still watch The Lion King. Don't really.
Hold on,
He's done it.
hold on. Watch The Lion King and tell me that those are not "fuck me eyes."
You're
tell
not
me
wrong, but I try not to think about it. I try to maintain the innocence of The Lion King.
Or even worse, Timon and Pumbaa are watching the entire time.
Back when Disney was perverted.
Very much so, very much so. But anyway, not yeah, that's nothing else you can lead into that. Brandon, anything?
I think we killed him.
Still has more dignity than the remake.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. So, all right. Now, we can cut this second part out, but I gotta hear this. I gotta hear you defend Last Jedi. I really do. Come on.
Listen,
I wanna
man,
hear this.
it's the here. You want my hot take? You want my hot take?
Please.
It's the
We're
second
not
best
editing
Star
this
Wars
out.
movie after
Oh,
Empire.
okay.
It
Those
may
are
or
my
may
hot
not enter the podcast. We don't. If you don't want it in, we don't have to put it.
I know. I mean, I don't really care either way. My hot take is this: it's the second best Star Wars movie after Empire.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Zach's first.
Well, first of all, I agree with you on that. Empire's my favorite and will always be my favorite.
It's
But I
fantastic.
do not agree with you on the second. I will not agree with you on that second take, brother. I can't follow you. You're going down a dark path, sir. I can't follow you. You're breaking my heart, Lee.
I think Zach's insides are about to set his back.
All right, come on. All right, so even you, who is a fan, you must agree that the Leia scene where the spaceship blows up and she goes through fucking space is ridiculous.
It makes no sense.
So here, I'm just gonna quote Jenny Nicholson on this. You guys, oh my god, you guys watch Jenny Nicholson on YouTube or no?
No,
I don't.
So I'm just gonna quote her on this. She's like, if your argument is the visual of an ice-encrusted Princess Leia flying through space like Superman is a weird visual, yeah, you're not wrong. It's objectively.
So that's just
a weird
unanimous then.
No, it's a weird visual. I'm not gonna deny that. It's a very strange scene that I was kind of like, I would have done that differently.
I just wouldn't have done it.
There's that.
Well, my problem isn't her using the Force to save herself. My problem is just it looks weird.
Yeah,
I've just never seen a Jedi or even a Sith Lord in the history of Star Wars do that.
Which
That's
now brings
my
up a
big
question
problem.
in my mind, because Star Wars is, of course, a different galaxy of ours, a different universe from our own. So does space work the same way that space works for us?
The only
over
difference
there?
between our space and their space is you hear sound in their space.
Yeah.
So
And there's
no way-
explosions in their space.
Yeah. Also, apparently, gravity works with mines.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been all of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, that has very much
You
been
have
all the
arcing
Star Wars
lasers. I'm
movies.
just.
That was even in Empire
Yeah, that's in all of them. Like that. I'm
yeah.
just like, I'm not gonna question
when they were
the
trying to get him
science
out of the
Star Wars.
crater.
It's a
out of the
movie with
theater.
space magic. Like I'm just like, yeah.
Dude, have you ever get a chance? There's a great video on YouTube of the contractor defending the thermal
The
cup.
exhaust port.
Yeah, the exhaust port. It's fucking hilarious. He's like, yeah, this wouldn't actually work because an exhaust port would actually be pushing out air, not sucking in fucking air. You know what? Guess what? I didn't account for fucking space wizards. That wasn't in my contract.
You told me they were extinct. Here's a quick question for you.
Sure.
So when it comes to Star Wars, how much of it do you follow? Do you just follow the movies, or do you follow the expanded lore as well?
I don't follow the expanded lore. I'm familiar
Okay.
with little bits
That
of
makes
it,
a lot
and
more
I'm like,
sense.
I'm a passive Star Wars fan. Like,
okay. Yeah,
the expanded universe never mattered to me, and it's like the kind of thing where I'm like, people will tell me details. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
One recommendation I have is if you're ever watching Attack of the Clones, watched it with the George Lucas commentary because I don't remember where this happened. I think it's towards the end, but he makes a subtle jab towards the Jay and Silent Bob movies because he starts talking about who was actually hired to build the Death Star and everything.
Oh my god. There's so many things. But you know what though? But Zach also loves everything except The Last Jedi. And I can't get behind him on.
I can't either.
On Phantom and Attack of the Clones.
Phantom Menace was a great movie.
I can't get behind it on Solo either.
So wait, no,
wait. I'm good with Solo. I'm good without Solo.
Solo bored me to tears. I was not invested at all.
Solo was just unnecessary.
I liked Solo because it reminded me so much of the 1966 Adam West show.
But you also liked The Predator.
I was all right on The Predator.
We're not gonna get there.
That's different. That's
there's some things, there's some movies that are almost sacrilegious in this group. Star Wars is one of them. And then Predator and Friday the 13th are one of them, and Terminator is another one.
Well, Terminator is oh god, poor Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator. I'm good with just recognizing 1 and 2.
That's all you. That's all you can do.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Here, I'll ask y'all a question. Back on the horror boat.
Okay.
Where do you stand on the 2018 Suspiria?
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
I have a friend who sent me a digital copy of it, but I just have not had time for it yet.
Long.
I actually just got the original on 4K and watched that the other night, which it looked beautiful. Like the regular Blu-ray was already probably the best transfer of a 1970s horror movie I've seen, and the 4K version is even better. Since I recently watched that the other day, I might dig out that digital copy and
watch it.
Okay, because there is no in the middle on that one. Like people either love it or hate it.
Yeah,
I just see the trailer did not do it any justice for me. Like I was like,
there's some movies, man, that are so fucking divisive, man.
Will say I'm in the boat that loved it. It was not only my favorite horror movie of last year; it was my favorite film period of last year. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's one of my favorite films of this decade.
Yeah, this year's going to be rough for us between 2 different films.
Oh, for me, it's Dr. Sleep by far.
I'm still having trouble with Us versus Dr. Sleep right now.
It's no competition for me.
I got mine for the year, and it's neither of those. Those are in my top 5, but it's not. Yeah. It's neither.
Do you want to say what your top one is right now?
It's Summer.
Okay.
Midsummer. Another incredibly divisive. You either love it or
very divisive.
So on that note,
that's a fun moment for our viewers, right there.
No kidding. Zach's actually not allowed to talk about A24 while he's doing business.
Okay.
Yeah. And it comes from a place of very, very deep hatred.
It comes at night.
Oh well, yeah, that's true too.
Do the rest of y'all hate A24? Or does he hate A24?
He hates it.
I don't mind it. There's some movies of it that I really like, but honestly, the best example, it was going to be a good movie regardless of who released it, which was Ex Machina. I don't give a shit who released that movie.
I loved Ex Machina.
Great movie.
I don't think there's ever been an A24 film that I've seen that I disliked. I think the worst it's been, I've been like, that was okay.
Okay, I mean,
have you seen The Lighthouse yet?
I have. I adored it.
A lot of people are saying really good things about it.
I thought it was fantastic. Lighthouse, Midsummer. I'm trying to think what else came out recently. I liked It Comes at Night, but it was terribly mismarketed, I will say.
Yeah, It Comes at Night was one that I couldn't stand just because it was 90 minutes of people trying to figure out who opened a door when there was only one guy who had the key, and it just couldn't. To me, it just couldn't stand up to its own logic.
It's like the Family Guy. There's some things that are just one sentence or one sketch. The best explanation of Blair Witch Project I ever heard was the Family Guy sketch when Brian brings the blind guy to go see the movie and everything else. It's like they're walking, nothing's happening, something about a map. Something's
paying attention.
It wasn't really paying attention. Nothing's happening, and it's over.
A lot of people in the audience
look pissed.
One
That's how I
second,
felt
guys.
when I watched the Ghost Story.
One sec, guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh
just
yeah.
Just
oh.
saying.
So,
Eating his own
Apologies,
hairs.
gents.
No worries. You're good. You're good. We were just commiserating about Ghost Story.
And with that,
Oh.
Zach is back. The cat is okay.
Life is good.
yeah, I just can't feed him that certain brand of food anymore.
So. Ooh, you know what?
Yeah.
Nice.
Brand new baby.
Nice. Yeah, Zach is all death and destruction until you put a fucking
Yeah.
cat in front of him.
I
I'll be-
am such a cat person. Oh, you're gonna
Yeah.
roll off the bed. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a problem. My little one does that all the time. He'll lay on my legs, and then he'll just go, no, and then he'll just claw and Velcro, just like, what
She
happens?
is the clumsiest girl I've ever met.
Yeah. How old?
She's like 10 months.
Yeah.
We just
They're
adopted
like that
her,
for the-
yeah.
Yeah, my little one was like that for about a year, and then he finally got some sense knocked into him, and then he's just like, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
still learning that my older cat doesn't want to be bothered, so
That takes time.
I'm glad my two got along pretty well. It only took them like 2 weeks before they're like, okay.
Yeah,
I guess you're staying here now.
my older
Yep.
one's 17 years old and she's been an only child for her entire life, so now she's like not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was only like a 5-year difference between my two, so it wasn't as bad.
God.
He just had to learn to share food.
Yeah, this one's still got
nice.
kitten energy, so
There you go.
she likes
There you
drinking out of glasses.
All right.
Yeah.
go. Well, that'll work. That'll work. So, but yeah, the it's very divisive up in here about 824.
It's
so,
fair.
the-
Very fair.
The,
That look of
yeah.
hatred on Zach's face.
Oh, it runs deep. It runs deep. Honestly, man, the ones that I can actually say that I liked were probably Ex Machina and Spring Breakers, and that's about it.
The Witch?
Yeah.
Not the Witch?
Never saw The Witch.
Oh, okay.
Never saw The Witch. So can't speak for it.
Okay.
Well, you'll be watching a great soundtrack play out to long clips of no
Was,
one hitting the cut buttons.
Is a personal shopper part of like 824?
It might be.
Is
no,
it?
it's IFC Midnight.
Okay.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, that was the first movie we ever walked out of.
I think
Third.
that was a weird movie.
For me, it was the first
It's
one.
weird,
He's
I
like,
liked it though.
Hmm?
It's weird, but I like it.
okay. Did it get better after? I don't know. What part
It's
did we walk out of?
it's
After the
very,
boobs.
very strange. It's a very very unconventional film, and it's something that I didn't expect to like. But I dug it in the end. I don't know if it gets better. Like if you're not fucking with the first like half of it, you're not gonna fuck with the rest of it.
Fair enough.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. I got a fun question. What's the first movie you ever walked out of?
Ants.
Aliens vs. Predator Requiem.
Wait, hold up.
Ants.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
Woody
taking it
Allen's
back.
DreamWorks movie Ants. It's the only movie I've ever walked out of, and I stand by it to this day. I fucking hate it.
Damn! I have never heard anybody speak so passionately about ants.
I just never cared for it, but
Yeah, like it's like this fucking Floor's Brown. Like I've never heard anybody like give a shit about that movie so much, one way or the other. Like yeah, it's a movie. Like, isn't that knockoff that came out at the same time as Bug Life? Like
It was.
I've
That's
come close to walking out of a few movies, but I've never actually done it. Like most of the times when I'm about to, the movie just ends, and I'm like, okay, cool.
okay. What's one movie you thought about doing but you didn't?
The first Purge movie.
that really was a disappointing movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
The concept. It sold a really grandiose concept, and then it just ended up being a fucking home invasion movie.
Yeah, it's just that, we're not getting what was advertised.
It was a super great concept that was.
I will say, I think the Purge movies finally found their stride around the third one when they just were like, oh, we know this is stupid now. We're just gonna go all out with it.
Yeah.
Fuck it off.
So you've seen the other ones.
I've seen all four. Yeah.
Okay, because I still haven't brought myself to watch the second one. I was so
I don't like
disappointed
the
by the
second
first.
one.
I'm just like, eh.
I don't like the second one. I think that the second one also is just taking itself way too seriously. The third one is completely batshit insane, and Bubba from Forrest Gump is in it.
Nice. Sold.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's just sometimes in life when you send a movie, to us and everything else, and you say you need to see this movie. Why? Because of this one reason. Like D. Schneider. Like tell me about that movie. I was like, I'm gonna see that movie.
If that's not enough, like the scene that sold it for me is when a girl and her friends roll up to Bubba's store because he wouldn't let them steal a candy bar before the purge happened. They roll up in like a Mercedes that's literally wrapped bumper to bumper in Christmas lights with Party in the USA blasting. And they get out of the car with like purge masks on. They're trying to kill Bubba.
Because America, fuck yeah.
That's where I was like, you know what? This is so dumb. I love it. I'm here for it.
Something to avoid, by the way. Speaking of crazy landmines to avoid, there's a movie on Netflix. Avoid it.
Oh, Jesus.
Splatter.
What movie?
Splatter. It's a 30-minute movie.
The Corey Feldman one?
The Corey Feldman movie.
He knows it.
I watched it the other day.
Oh my god! All right, we gotta fucking talk about this movie. We have. Well, hold on. Two things. One, this was definitely filmed in Corey Feldman's house. And two, half the cast was paid in coke. I know it. I know it. I know it to be true.
How did they get Tony Todd?
I know. I spent the whole time thinking like, Tony, I'm so disappointed in you, Tony. I really am. I'm very disappointed in you.
And what's his face directed it?
Joe Dante.
Joe Dante directed
what
this.
What the fuck happened?
We said the same thing.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Can
man.
somebody explain the fisheye lens? I just want to know why.
Fucking no! I just like the whole time. My friend was just like, "Oh, Corey Feldman's in this. This looks stupid. We were looking for something bad to watch, and so we threw that on, and we're like, oh my god."
Oh my god, there's so much in that movie. And then the one chick, she's like, I'm gonna go bang him because he's a zombie now. And then she finally gets to him when he's a zombie. She's like, ew.
This was a bad idea.
And then everyone's dead, but they're not dead.
Yeah, that was wild. I gotta say, if you're looking for something really insanely bad to watch, if you haven't seen it already, have you heard of a movie called Demon Wind?
No.
It's this awful Evil Dead ripoff from like the 80s. It's got a dude who looks like Kevin Bacon who does magic and also kung fu.
Huh.
It is.
Run this the IMDb champ.
It is so. I saw it because Alamo Drafthouse, like, they'll do dollar movie nights.
Okay.
And they just did it one night, and I saw it, and I was like, "This is so fucking funny." And then I bought it on Blu-ray naturally because I was like, "I need to own this."
Demon Wind.
Demon
With
Wind.
the need to investigate the mysterious death of his grandparents, Corey and his friends assemble back to the old farm where it all began 60 years earlier.
That is the one.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty fucking
Again,
fantastic.
if you guys have Shudder, it's on Shudder.
Done.
Yeah.
Done. The
It's wild. You
same
cannot
way-
predict where that movie will go.
Oh, I'm sure. You fucking splatter though. Holy shit. Well, oh my god, Joe Dante, what happened? What happened? Gremlins 1, Gremlins 2, and then that.
The Howling.
And the Howling.
Matinee.
Oh, so much good shit. And then how much, there's, apparently it was supposed to be a choose your own adventure.
What?
Like at one point, or at least.
We were looking into this. There was a lot of like choose your own adventure. I think it was released during the YouTube days where people were just doing that, where you put up your video
And you put up other, like follow-up videos.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't know who would, but
Well, the funny thing is, it got released recently and everything else, but it came out in 2009.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like watching all these people like with the film quality and like the flip phones. I'm like, there's no way this came out now. Like, no way. And apparently it did not.
That shit.
Same way I felt when I was watching Freddy vs. Jason.
I mean, my favorite. There's like a Letterboxd review that sums it up perfectly, which is just like, I'm not gonna watch 30 minutes of Corey Feldman and Tony Todd directed by Joe Dante, no matter how piss poor it is.
Fair enough.
It sums it up perfectly.
That pretty much sums it up. Oh god, Corey Feldman. God, you were so fucking high in that movie.
It was something.
He was something. And then I quickly watched his Brandon said, "Oh, I have one more thing to show you about Corey Feldman," and then he showed me the good.
That was not me. That was Justin.
Oh, it was Justin. Oh yeah. One of his friends said, like, "Hey, let me show you this other thing. It's a Good Morning America spot where Corey Feldman does a performance of his new musical band."
Oh yeah. His album was
It was something.
yeah.
It was. What
well,
genre of music is that?
I could not even tell you.
Neither could I. Neither could I. I really, really couldn't. It was something. You know, there's just some movies, man, that you just watch and you just gotta laugh. Like I was saying before, like Freddy vs. Jason was that for me. I love that movie now, but I laughed through the whole fucking movie.
Oh,
It
it's
was
a mess.
great. Oh, an absolute disaster, but a lot of fucking fun of a movie. But yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place to end this. Lee, thank you for being
Lee, thank you so much, man.
Nightmares
Absolutely.
podcast.
No, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Good to talk
absolutely.
horror with everybody.
Yeah.
Yep, and we'll be back again sometime. Just to
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about horror movies in general.
Yeah.
For now, though, Mark, do you want to take us out?
Everybody, Lee, thank you again so much. Please, we want to get the word out about the channel and all the wonderful interviews we have. So please give us a like, share, subscribe on all of the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We are under the Midwest Horror Network on all of them. We are now completely consistent. So, and all the people that have been watching, we appreciate everything you've been doing. Like I said, share it to your brothers, sisters, uncles, best friends, twice removed. Sure, why not? We appreciate everything you do,
and keep an eye out for Lillith. We'll post a link to the trailer in the description.
Oh, and Lee, where can we find all your stuff, man?
Yeah, so you can find any of our film stuff on ritterhouseproductions.com. That's RITTERHAUS Productions. As you can find any of our stuff. If you're looking for any commercial video work, please let us know because we are looking for clients at the moment. And also, if you're looking for me specifically and my horror movie reviews, you can find me on Those Horror Pals on YouTube. So,
Nice.
any and all of the above.
Zoom.
All right.
Very, very cool.
Links to all those we put in the description.
All right, cool. David, any last minute things?
Lilith, man, that was. I went in I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this, but I loved every second of it. Like, it kept me engaged from beginning to end.
Thank you so much, man.
Good job on that.
With that, thank you.
Zachary, any last minute things?
Squirrels.
Yep. Brandon, any last minute things?
I liked Lillith. You should too.
Awesome. Thank you so much as always. Nightmares Podcast. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.